Welcome to another episode of the Left Curve podcast. The Left Curve is basically an attempt from Radar Block to make crypto and Web3 knowledge possessed by industry experts and thought leaders accessible to the masses in simple terms, minus the jargon. Now, we've got our dear friend DMH joining us here. And DMH in the crypto world, it's easy to get lost in confusing information. We wanted to create something that would have helped us when we first started out. Now, you have been pretty active in the influencer vigilante builder space. It's like a curious combination of the three. Most notably, you've called out V33 dexes in the past and other kind of dangerous protocol mechanics that has like a lot of Ponzi-nomics built into it. And that's when we thought, we should invite you here, since a lot of the new entrants to Web3 either fall prey to predatory mechanics or don't know how to build like an audience. There's a lot of things you can actually guide our audience on. And, other narratives out there are relatively safe and more long-term. They may not be so lucrative, but they are more safe and something that the audience should definitely look at. So I thought that, you would be the right person to kind of guide our audience on those points as well. So today we're going to be primarily speaking about spotting trending narratives. Now, before we start, of course, let me preface that none of what we say is financial advice. We're just crypto enthusiasts. Please do your own research before making any investments. And with that being said, DMH, my old friend, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. And I feel that you have too many expectations from me. I'm not that experienced and that smart to tell much about all those things, but I'll try my best. I am DeFi mate here or DMH from Twitter. You might have seen me before. If not, please take a look.
Yeah, for sure. Let me add humble to that list as well of qualifications that you have. But yeah, definitely go check out DeFi Made here after this podcast as well. My name's Don, and I'm one of the co-founders at Radar Block. We're a Web3 native growth agency, and we're always looking for the next big thing, the next big hack, or how to improve current strategies that we're using to grow protocols. Now, DMH here has been someone that we have interacted with in the past. We've always found him to be very, very astute, very, very person of high integrity, I'd say. So that is the reason we decided to bring him onto the podcast as well. So I think let's just dive right into it, the image. The first question I had is that when you were first starting out, what was the landscape of Twitter-based influencers across crypto? And I'm using the word influencers because I understand you don't like the term KOLs at all. So what were the missing pieces that you saw at that time that motivated you to write a little bit as well? What was your first experience like?
So actually, KOL and influencer is almost the same thing. I just don't like being called like that, because I never had a goal to become an influencer or KOL. About the landscape when I started, and the reason why I started, I was discovering crypto and DeFi myself, and that was around October 2021, November 2021. So it was market was at all-time highs, and I was reading what people were writing, and they were speaking about different DeFi strategies, but most of the strategies were quite unsustainable. People were speaking about locking CRV, getting yield. People were speaking about Olympus. People were speaking about Tom and Tom Forks and stuff like that, which never made sense to me. I was thinking, okay, but I don't want to use. There are a lot of good opportunities with stable coins and other things. Even actually, after some time, I realized that even those strategies with stable coins were super risky. But yeah, so at that moment I realized, okay, I can write more about stable coins. And the thing is that I never had an experience of writing. I never had social media. I never wrote anything, but I decided to try, and people liked it. People started following me, and people started following me more when I first spoke about Luna UST. They told that it's cannot work like that, and it will collapse. And 1 month after it collapsed, 1 month after I wrote that, it collapsed. So yeah, people started following me more.
that the Luna demise became your weapon in some sense that there. But I'm really curious because I remember that, Jordy having like a debate online with Asfi and others about why Olympus Styles game theory will not work out. Those days are really, really vivid in my memory as well because of the entire landscape. I would say it was euphoric. I also remember, the Algod bet and then GCR bet of Luna collapsing as well. Out of all of this, it seems like, all of those people, such as Jordy or whether it's like Algod, all of them have like quite a lot of stripes, quite a lot of credentials in the sense that, okay, they've been trading for such a long while. You were saying you entered the market at that point of time. So, how were you able to spot that, okay, this is unsustainable and then also resist the pull of investing into them, for example? Because a lot of people would say that, okay, I too entered in this the same time, but I fell for this. Well, how did DMH not fall for this? Do you have like you may not have like qualifications as per what you say in writing, but did you have like any qualifications for like economics or something?
No, no qualifications in economics. Just, I mean, like I like finance, but I don't have qualifications in that. But it's like common sense and mm, common knowledge in math. That's these things. Like, I mean, basically, if you remember, for example, UST Luna, there was this like reserve. Was it anchor reserve or something, which was just filled up by a foundation. They were just sending that UST, which was like they were minting this UST, then they were sending this UST to Anchor Reserve, and Anchor was paying 20% on stable coins, and then people were looping. So I mean, this money were just like literally were just printed, and when people were pointing out on that, it's like Luna and Maxis, they were saying, okay, but dollar is also printed out of thin air, so it's normal. I mean, yeah, it's normal, but I mean, nobody cares about UCI. It's not a currency. It's nothing. It's just a printed token. So, but people were believing that it is like equal to $1, which we know it's not equal. It's equal to 1 cent now, probably, or probably less. Yeah. So just analyzing like how things work, why they work, why they don't work, who is paying. Like if you are getting paid, yeah, someone else is paying you. So you ask yourself who is paying you and what is the reason why he is paying you and like what he is getting in term. And with UST it was just printed coins. So didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in line with the age-old saying of, well, if you don't know where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. And it's pretty weird to think that in the past, when that was happening, there were people who were questioning it, but they were all getting shut down by, diehard supporters of projects. Like if you remember, selling tokens at a profit was considered really bad, and there was a lot of sell shaming going on, and there was the whole pack of diamond handing people who would really berate you if you decided that you do not want to associate yourself with the project anymore. So I do remember those times. Those were interesting ones, and a lot of narratives have like propped it up since then. And because of your insights or, as you say, common sense, can you tell us like a little bit about the narratives or the topics that you personally believe you were a little bit early to as compared to like the rest of the market?
I just one moment. I also recalled one more thing, which was Wonderland, which was also like Olympus forking, as far as I remember. And I remember they had a very strong community, so all this cute Sark and Wagmi and stuff, and people were really, really holding all those tokens, and like we never wanted to sell on this key, like Wagmi, and like we will make it. And then everyone got liquidated and it went to zero. That was also like funny to observe. And can you please repeat your question, if you don't mind?
For sure. So if you remember, those were the days of narratives. But since then, a lot of narratives have actually popped up. If you think about it, like we had the real yield, we had the full China is betting on Bitcoin narrative. So which ones do you think you have been early to, as compared to like the rest of the crowd? Which ones did you spot a little bit earlier than others?
I don't think I've been early to something, and I think all these narratives. crap. And I think most of the narratives are like, made up by this crypto cabal, crypto Twitter cabal, because yeah, sometimes people just come up with some strange naming of some events that they expect will come up. I don't actually like take uh, take it serious. Don't pay attention for that. I really don't know any narrative which really worked out and stayed with us. Like, I mean, it's all made up.
Very interesting. And it's very interesting that you mentioned crypto cabal in there. So I'll just like spend like few extra minutes in there. For those people who are just like new to Web3, can you explain crypto cabal? And, because you keep exposing them anyway on your Twitter. So do you want to like spend like, a couple of moments to just talk about, what is something that crypto cabal is composed of? What do they do? And what is something that the audience needs to be wary of as well?
I mean, it's half mem, half not. I don't know them myself. I don't know who's there and so on. But sometimes you can see that some crazy narratives come up. I mean, like if you remember, there was some projects like you remember ERC-404, for example. If you remember, it came up out of nowhere. It pumped like to some crazy numbers, and people like everyone was saying, okay, this is like next big thing, and they were explaining there were a lot of like a list of things which ERC-404 will improve and how everything will start working great in the space and so on. And then in one moment, like it just evaporated. Yeah, no, it's like nobody even can recall like what was that and why were people speaking about that. Yeah, and then like it disappeared. And you have this narrative like every few months you have one more like thing like that, and everyone's talking about that. Everyone is buying into this, and then like it disappears. So I think this is like very some sort of insider things, and you can see that a lot of like big OG accounts quite often involved with it. They're the one like who starts speaking about this first, and yeah, I mean always the same.
Yep. And it's very interesting that this is something that the new entrants to Web3 need to be very aware of. You do not know how big the organization or how big the group of influencers can be on Twitter that are talking about a particular token, but it's all organized and they're doing it simply to dump on you, like for the lack of a better phrase. And that is what their goal is. But you mentioned that, how the ERC-404 came up, went away, it had no reason to come up and stayed for a while, made the top dogs a bit of money, and then vanished as well. So there's a lot of noise on CET, right? When it comes to latest trends. Now, how do you decide which one is going to stay versus which one is just going to be like a fad?
First of all, like I can be wrong sometimes. I mean, maybe most of the times I can be wrong. But when I decide, when I'm looking at this, I'm trying to understand like how much sense in this, how is it sustainable, can it sustain over time, and so on. Like for example, I am big fan of Pendle. Yeah, I've been always a big fan of Pendle. I like what they were doing, but early this year they introduced this markets for points. Let's say people were buying YT and they were getting points exposure, and they had a very big growth. So they went to 5 billion TPLs or 6 billion TPL. It was extreme success for them. But at the very same moment, I realized that it cannot work there. Points is fun, but points will not stay forever. Points is not cash, and also I saw there is no mistake in what Pendle was doing. Pendle did an amazing job, but I saw what other projects is projects were doing, like this LRT projects and all other projects that were launching points, they started farming the users massively. There are projects that are farming users with the points for 1 year already. And yeah, at that moment, like it was clear to me that this points is like very, very bad for users. And people who are like buying into this YTs, who are depositing to Pendle, they will have like some losses. And at that moment, I knew that Pendle will not be able to sustain that goal. So they went from 6 billion to 2 billion TVL now. And most of the TVL is still there because of the points, but the points will end one day or another. So that narrative for me, I knew that it will not be sustainable. Despite, again, Pendle did nothing wrong. Pendle is doing a great job, but it was not sustainable growth. And there are different examples like that from other protocols. They have very good growth, but I know that, in my opinion, that this growth cannot sustain, and they will fall earlier or later. I'm not saying that Pendle will fall. I'm just saying that they will not be able to sustain that TVL they had because of the points. Points matter is already dying, and it will be only worse.
Very interesting, specifically because you also mentioned Pendle, and the whole PT and YT saga has been pretty interesting for us to observe as well, especially after they got integrated with a lot of LRTs. Back in the day, of course, I believe it was you and Lynn who have always been like champions of Pendle in some sense. And then after that, when they started integrating with LRTs, I think they did experience a significant growth spurt altogether. Slowly I saw that everybody wanted to integrate with them. But, just the other day, I was actually watching a video which was talking about, how Pendle plans to slow down its T-wheel drop. And, that's when I realized that, okay, this T-wheel drop is, kind of hurting the protocol quite significantly in some sense. It's very interesting. It looks like you're saying that you can support projects that have been building for a while. You can support those narratives, but the moment they make a mistake, you should be smart enough to pinpoint that and to say, okay, I think this is the wrong move by a otherwise very good team, and that is how you can kind of safeguard yourself against these happenings as well. And how do you look at approaching projects that may not have Pendle's track history? Let's just say it's a new project. Let's just say tomorrow you launch DMH DAO. I'm just giving you an example, right? Now, if you were someone else, how would you approach assessing DMH DAO? Given that it's a new project, would you be investigating like the founding team, in this case DMH? Would you be investigating the kind of projects DMH is associated with? How would that work out?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to add, that I don't think the Pendle did something wrong. I just realized that it will not be sustainable long term what they did. But the decision, like this move was well advised from their side. Yeah, they grew like, I don't know, what was it, 60x or something, and they still 10x. They still have 10x higher TVL than what they had before the point. So from their perspective, they did everything right. I just didn't think that it will be sustainable. And answering your question about assessing, I mean, and everyone has like own beliefs and own bias, and I have faded a lot of things which went well, and you have your own thesis, and you follow your thesis, and if the project, let's say, fits in your thesis, and you see the clear path how they can grow and what will be the reason for their growth, then like it's a good project, and then like you have to decide.
Very interesting. Okay, so the way it is through like thesis building, checking up on the team, and like then checking out the project itself. Speaking of projects, I know that you have been working on one of your very own. So can you tell us a little bit more about it? Can you tell us what it does? And if you think, your influence, or if you think your background is assisting in its growth as well.
We're talking about Fluid, right? Okay. um,
Okay, that tells me there are more.
yeah, so with Fluid, yeah, I joined Eastern Up team last year. Sorry, it was actually this year full time, and we have 4 different products, but the recent one and the project with the most potential is Fluid. We inside the team we believe this will be the biggest project in whole DeFi within several years. And from the product perspective, from what we already achieved and what we are building and what we are releasing in a few weeks, I know that there is no competition. Yeah, even now, among lending markets, Fluid has no competition. If you compare like LTVs, if you compare liquidation penalties, we have by far the best parameters, up to 100x difference. And we are launching soon the DEX, which will be also the most efficient DEX in the space. So, as I'm saying, like product tech-wise, we are very, very confident in our product, but growing it is much more difficult than we expected. Mostly because people still hesitate to interact with new projects, and we are relatively new. People want, let's see, people would rather have worse conditions. They will have lower LTVs, for example, and they will use our because they know like our is safe for 7 years, like our has 7-year track record, rather than like moving to Fluid, which will give them better conditions, but we don't have that track record. And actually, like I can understand it. I totally understand it. For now, people see Fluid as like, okay, that's a more efficient protocol, a more efficient version of our. Yeah, we have a few percent better here, a few percent better there. Like it's all great, but why would they use it? Why would they move from our, which I know is safe? But with the launch of Fluid DEX, we will change the way people are using DeFi. I believe so, because we bring novel concepts that allow to use debt as a trading liquidity, and people are also will be earning on their debt. So when you're borrowing on Fluid, you can get paid to borrow because you will be getting trading fees on your debt. And when trading fees are higher than your borrowing costs, and you're literally getting paid to borrow. I think that this will give us a very, very big boost. And it will help us, to grow, because we kind of reached a point where we cannot grow. We don't grow. Yeah, we reached 800 million market size in first 90 days, and then in next 90 days we didn't grow in dollar terms. Yeah, we like Ethereum went down like 50%, and we actually doubled our TVL in ETH terms. But in dollar terms, we are still around like 750, 800 million market size. So we're at this point where it's like hard to grow, but we are launching Fluid DEX finally, like in 2 weeks. And we hope it will give us very, very big boost. Answering your question about like does it help me? Does it help us to grow Fluid because like I have audience? It definitely helps because it's all about distribution, and I use my account like as another distribution channel for Fluid. Like I speak a lot about Fluid. I share a lot of let's say all like technical overviews and deep dives into small things and explaining why it matters, what we do different, and why is it possible to, is it possible for us to achieve this high efficiency, and how we will be changing the space. And yeah, and people read it, and I think it helps with growing. But as I told, like we reached like at that point, uh, and I mean, it's hard to grow for us at the moment, but it will change. Like in 2 weeks, we will all sure that it will change a lot. And actually, we speak with different liquidity providers and protocols. We explain them about fluid DEX, and we don't offer any incentive from our side, but there are already like 9-figure pre-commitments of DEX liquidity from others. So yeah, once we launch, a lot of people, a lot of people will see that, like within the first week we have like another few 100 million of DEX liquidity. And I think within the first month alone, Fluid DEX will become the most liquid DEX for certain pairs on Ethereum, especially like for USDC, USDT. We will be the most liquid DEX, and for for some LSTs, MLTs, we can also become the most liquid and one of the most liquid DEXs. That will be a big success for us.
And walk me through the strategy you're utilizing at Fluid for growing. Like, are you? So I like to see it as like two camps. One is core builder, build and they will come camp. The other one is okay, we're building, but we also need to hit the right narratives. Which side would you and the Fluid team be leading towards right now? And if it's the narrative side, can you tell us like what narratives are you guys looking to associate Fluid with?
Well, no, there are no particular narratives. So on the growing, I'd say lending market, they're mostly for whales there. So uh, we need to get this whales. We need to show them, okay, you get the better conditions and it is safe, because whales, they don't want to risk the capital. So we want to assure everyone that protocol is very safe for them and has the best conditions, and they have to move. And yeah, there are no particular narratives that we are following or trying to get integrated to. Um, at some point, like LRT helped us, because we had again like very good conditions for leveraging LRTs. It was very safe. People never got hurt with us, so they never got liquidated for no reason. They had high points from these LRT projects and Fluid. So it helped us a lot, but it's never like the main reason why people are using Fluid. It's just it was a good uh, good way to attract some more people using Fluid. But there is no particular narrative where we're trying to fit in. After we launch DEX, I think people probably will see the narrative that there is a new way to provide liquidity. You don't need to lock your capital. Basically, if you're borrowing, you become a liquidity provider, and there should be like no idle capital sitting on the DEXs. If you see some DEXs, they have like billions in TVL, but like zero trading volume. That is just idle TVL sitting there in case people want to trade. On Fluid, we will liberate the TVL. We will liberate the tokens that are just sitting on the DEXs. And all what we need is like people start borrowing on Fluid.
Understandable. And you have basically said that, LRT has definitely helped you guys at like one point as well. That of course caught my attention because, LRTs seem to be all the rage now. I mean, the mind share definitely may have gone down, but you've had like an interesting journey, entering as like a casual observer and then noticing the, obvious Ponzi, started writing about it, became a contributor long term to multiple different protocols, decided to focus on Fluid first. Now, if somebody Now that's your story, right? That's how you entered in 2021. If somebody's entering in 2024 and they wish to be at your position where, they don't want to only become somebody who writes, they don't want to only become somebody who's building without any kind of distribution. They want to pair the distribution with like the product building. How do you suggest they should approach it? Like what would their first steps supposed to look like? Should they focus on simply educating themselves? Should they focus on documenting their journey? Should they focus on building the product and like documenting the product building journey? What, in your opinion, if you could go back in time or start again to today, how would you do it now?
Um, yeah, first of all, someone wants to start, they should start writing on Twitter. That's probably the best decision in my life so far, except marrying my wife. Yeah, so I mean, like, you should start writing, and if nothing happens, if you don't succeed, okay, you don't lose anything except the time you spend for it. But the like the upside is unlimited. Like everyone I know in the space, everything I achieved in the space is only because I started writing on Twitter and got to know people. People got to know me. So yeah, definitely I recommend everyone to start writing, and you have to be interesting. So you have to write something that other people will want to read. It's I mean, you don't have. It's all about like this attention economy. Yeah, you don't have to become, let's say, Ansem and speak about all these meme coins and do the things you don't want. Yeah, you will not achieve his follower count and his level of being famous. But yeah, you have to write something you're interested in yourself and what other people will find interesting to read. And yeah, if you are building a product, speak about the product, speak why you think it's important. But also, like, if you're focusing on your product, people will likely read you less. So you have to speak about different things. I speak a lot about Fluid now on my Twitter. Like, mostly I speak about Fluid, and I know that people started reading me less. Like, I feel so. But yeah, I mean, this is what I'm interested in now. I'm not interested in other projects. I don't find like 99.9% of protocols. I don't find them interesting at all. So I don't want to speak about them. While Fluid, I think, is like the greatest thing in DeFi since inception. So yeah, I mean, like, do what you want, write what you like, and people might start reading you and might start following you, and it will help you long term. Yes, start writing. That's for sure the best advice.
I will take that advice myself too, because I've been told that I need to write more on Twitter myself. I think the fear is that we keep a lot of our thoughts internal, whereas on Twitter somehow you need to really start putting your thoughts out there in order for like the public to test them out before they decide whether it's like a good idea or like a bad idea. I think we just self censor quite a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, sometimes, sometimes I wanted to write about something. Like, I had a thought, let's say. I was thinking about something and like, okay, uh, I didn't do anything. And then I see someone wrote a tweet about the same thing, and like it's really a lot of traction. Then I'm like, why didn't I write what I was thinking about? Like, everyone cares about it. Whatever, like, if you are thinking about something, always write about it. People like reading someone's thoughts. People, I mean, people want to engage in one way or another. So yeah, it's better to write.
Yep. And, speaking of writing, of course, we had like quite a journey in this conversation. We went from like, starting out, starting to write, then becoming associated with different, protocols as well. In terms of narratives, if I kind of like bring the point back home to say, what is the one narrative that you as DMH are eyeing right now? Or would you say that, you're too focused on Fluid, you're not exactly keeping track of narratives altogether?
I don't know what narratives are there right now, to be honest. I mean, the narrative is now is to survive and not to buy higher DB coins. These are the two narratives. But I don't know. Like, can you give me an example? What is in? Do you know what is in narrative?
So, for example, LRDs were all the hype, AI in crypto was all the hype. So, anything that you feel like, okay, this is a long lasting opportunity. Are you seeing like any sort of long lasting opportunity to build something? You can also phrase it as if you were not building fluid, what would you be building instead? Or what sector would you be building instead?
Okay. Let's say AI has definitely a very big. Um, I mean, it's a very big opportunity. I'm not really like very well aware about AI in crypto. I don't know if it's all scam or not. I need to check. But overall, AI has big future. I cannot tell anything about crypto AI. LRTs. So with LRTs, because again, like I'm more on the building side, and always knew that LRTs, like for the one last year, I mean, there was no reason to hold, let's say, any LST instead of just stake it, except you were getting tokens from this LRT projects and from Eigen, yeah. So LRTs might be. It's hard to say. I mean, like there is not much demand for restaking. I mean, like nobody is buying that data and so on, the data availability. So long term, probably LSTs will make sense, but I mean, just same as LSTs make sense. Yeah, you get some extra yield, but there is nothing like super groundbreaking that that will forever change the space. I do not feel that way. Yeah, and LRTs for the past 1 year, it was very profitable farming opportunity. Now it's less profitable, but yeah, it's more about farming. So I'm not exactly sure what are the narratives right now. There are like tens of layer twos, and everyone's farming this layer twos, but there is no narratives except farming the airdrops. I don't know. For me, the narrative is fluid only. So yeah, cannot don't know what else is there.
Yep. I do think that the meta is kind of slow. It's been AI and deepened for a while and it just stays there. We're still waiting for like a sector rotation. We did see, of course, like, Taiki and a couple of others talk about Aave, and then, suddenly Aave's token price decides to do well. Everybody starts talking about Aave again. So it's like DeFi summer, like we do go back to those protocols every once in a while, but not in like a very strong sense. I do think that this cycle has lacked a lot of new fundamentals in some sense. I mean, Eigenlayer did something where by like, introducing a new concept altogether, but it, it still feels like rushed. It still feels like unfinished in some sense, right? Like how many protocols are actually going to leverage ABSs, which in turn is going to generate the revenue that is supposed to feed the yield. And that is a big black box question. That's a big elephant in the room question.
That's right. But I always say that Athena is like very good example because Athena came with a new product and they immediately find like PMF. And they will stay in the space for sure because they tokenize basis to it, and they say, okay, now everyone can get access to it. That's like I think it's a good example, and I like what they did. I cannot say that I'm using March myself, but I mean they brought a new product which has use case. That I think it's one of the best examples in the past year.
Got it. Very, very interesting. And I can chat with you for hours, DMH, but unfortunately, by the constraints of time, I have to ask you like the last question which you ask to everyone. If there was one Web3 chat you would want us to invite to the podcast, who would it be?
That would be DeFi Ignas DeFi, and not sure.
Yeah, of course I know. It's funny enough, somebody else has also recommended him to us on this very episode. I'll have to like go back and check. Maybe it was Hitesh, maybe someone else. But yeah, we've gotten that request before, and yeah, definitely we'll try reaching out to him, getting him on the show, see if something works.
Yeah, you should try. He's good. If not Ignas, then you can try with Tor.
Yep.
You know.
Yes. Yeah. Time for some on-chain time. But yeah, man, thank you so much for like being available, having this chat with us today. And by the way, to our audience, if you love the show, please do give us a follow on at RadarBlock. My account personally as at 0x0. Make sure you follow our guest, DeFi Made here at DeFi_made_ here. He's pretty active on Twitter. It's definitely worth reading. And before we go, DMH, my last question to you: who's in your profile picture on Twitter? That's been a question that I've personally had for a while.
So this guy is called. His name is Richard Wyckoff. He's like a stock trader, and he has some theories about trading. So there are like this Wyckoff schemes of accumulation, distribution, and stuff like that. So yeah, he used to be a stock trader.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for clarifying one of my really longly held queries, I'd say. But it was a pleasure having you, DMH. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you and to speak.